Hello and welcome back to another Steelers Friday by hook or by crook. We've got another one. The Steelers somehow managed to make their way into the playoffs with a little bit of luck and a little bit of, I'm not going to say, I say a little bit of luck. It was not entirely luck. We did, to an extent, earn our way in with 10 wins. That's a very good, starting point for where you want to have any playoff chances. But we did need a little bit of help in the last weekend. Again, some will argue that we shouldn't have needed the help in the last weekend to get us into the playoffs because, we should have had this all wrapped up earlier. If we'd have been the two and 10 team, if we'd have been one of the two and 10 teams, then we would have made it in. But that's how the results fell. And as it is, we are getting ready to play the Buffalo Bills this Sunday at 1 o'clock at Orchard Park. And as we normally do, as you can see me ticking, I've got a new phone. I'm still trying to get the hang of some of it, and it's not staying on like my old one was. It's going into screensaver mode, so I'm still getting used to it. But this is the injury report, which we'll start with, and with the Steelers, it's pretty quick and simple, although be pretty painful. TJ Watt is out. I think many people obviously expected that with the diagnosis that we had. There was a little bit of hope because I did talk about it in my review of the Ravens game that it is possible that you can come back within a couple of weeks, a couple of days to a couple of weeks. And the fact that TJ wanted to come back in gave me a little bit of hope that maybe he'd be here for this Sunday. But as it is, that's not going to be the case. So we are without TJ. But the good news is we are basically everyone else is good to go. That includes the likes of DeMonte Katie back from suspension and Minka Fitzpatrick back from injury. The importance of them two, I will state when we get into the actual game preview. And for the Buffalo Bills on their side, wide receiver Gabe Davis is out with a knee. Tyrell Dodson is questionable with a shoulder. Russell Douglas is questionable with a knee. And Taylor Rapp, is out with a calf injury. Now, before we get into the players, I think we all know what the big X factor is for this weekend, and it's the weather. Again, the weather has been changing daily depending on where you look. I mean, no weather forecast is entirely accurate. Talking about phones, the amount of times that we had a bit of snow the other week here in Pittsburgh, and the amount of times on an hourly basis it would say how much snow is coming and at what time it's going to start and how much is expected of the day and hour. Nothing's ever nothing's ever certain in weather forecasts, but the latest, according to AccuWeather that I've managed to find, goes for 24 degrees Fahrenheit, which is -4 Celsius, as an actual temperature. But when you factor in the 55 mile an hour wind gusts, that brings it down to a field temperature of -2 Fahrenheit, which is -19 Celsius. And on top of that, 6 to 10 inches of snow, which basically, in my theory, blows a lot of things completely out the window. To form, player, no, player performance levels, speed, everything goes out the window. I'm not saying that it completely levels the playing field, but it does bring things a lot closer together because fast players aren't able to get quite the traction they want. The receivers can't get their hand. It's a great balancer in the grand scheme of things. So I think the weather will play a part in the game, and I think it's pretty obvious this game is going to be decided on the ground. And just for the purpose of this, I did look into where the Bills and Steelers rank this year in terms of their rushing defense, because that is, as I said, going to be the most important aspect of the game. And the Buffalo Bills are 28th in rushing yards per attempt that they give up. Again, this isn't rushing yards because there's a whole various factors into it. How many plays do you actually get to play? The Steelers, if you look at them earlier in the season when the defense was on the field more because the bad offense, they'd obviously give up more yards. But on a yards per attempt basis, the Rams are 28th in the league. That's 28th best. So what? 32nd, 33rd, fifth worst in the league in terms of giving up yards per attempt, and the Steelers are 19th. So neither team exactly great when it comes to stopping the run, and that's going to play a huge part into what goes in on Saturday, which means it's going to be, with a little bit of luck, a very quick game. So if you've got the snacks ready, just be wary that you're probably going to have a lot left over um, at the end of the first game, but that means you just get a lot more for the second and third games on Super Wildcard Weekend, as the NFL now wants to brand itself. But that's the rushing game. I think everyone, again, sort of understands where the rushing game is going or how the rushing game is going to be played. Where my again, I don't want to call it an X factor, but where the most important factor of the game, at least on the Steelers side, is going to be Minka Fitzpatrick and DeMonte Casey. And this goes back to what I was saying, after the game and before the game, in terms of who our potential opponents were going to be for this week. Because going into that game, the final game of the season, the Dolphins and the Bills, there were three opponents that the Steelers could have played, depending on the outcomes. After the Tennessee Titans had done their jobs and knocked the Jaguars out, it was the Bills, it was the Chiefs, and it was the Dolphins. The Dolphins were there if the game had been a tie, but it was looked like it was going to be the Bills or the Chiefs. But again, the Dolphins were there as a factor. And of those three teams, I knew if you could give me one of those teams, even though Buffalo are coming in and were coming in as the number 2 seed, I fancy the Steelers against those lot more than the others, because I don't see us being able to keep up with the high flying offense of the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't see the middle of the field being able to guard Travis Kelsey, for instance. The problems we had at inside linebacker, I see that being a very problematic thing. And again, just on a scoring basis, I don't see our offense, as much as it has improved in the past couple of weeks, being able to keep up with the Tyreek Hills and the Jalen Waddles and Tua Tagovailoa. So it was always going to be the Bills was the team that I wanted, and it's down to one crucial factor. I mentioned Minka Fitzpatrick and I mentioned DeMonte Casey. I could even bring in Eric Rowe, who's been an outstanding player since we brought him in. And it all comes down to Josh Allen. Because whilst the game is going to be played primarily on the ground, if there's one quarterback of the three that we could have faced that you sort of in your mind have is going to make a bad play or make a game-changing interception, it was going to be Josh Allen. So again, most of the game will be on the ground, but in those moments where he has to throw the ball, whether they're down or whether or not it's crucial they're down or whatever, the fact that we're getting Minka Fitzpatrick back, a ball hawk in the defensive backfield, DeMonte Casey as well, who can, we can debate the legalities of some of his hits and his style of play or whatever, but he's effective in the defensive backfield. So, with that being said, if there's again, Minka Fitzpatrick is going to get an interception this week. I just feel it. Josh Allen is going to throw interceptions this week. Even if he only has to throw 10 times this game because the game's been played on the ground, just give me one, and he will throw an interception. 14 games this year of the Buffalo Bills, 17 games. He's thrown an interception. It's there for us to take, and then take advantage of it. I feel I have a lot more confidence in Mason Rudolph, who has not thrown an interception since he's taken over as starter. I don't think he's going to throw an interception, but Josh Allen will. He's shown you that he will. And who would you rather have than on the maybe even in the whole NFL to come down on the other side of the ball with an interception? It's Minka Fitzpatrick. I don't want to boil it down to those simple things, but the way the game is going, it's going to have to be a simple thing. It's not going to be. There's no need to overcomplicate this. But we are going to get takeaways, and if we can manage to convert them and at least hold them back, the Steelers have the edge in this. I've seen various betting odds like the Bills are 7.5 point favorites, 9.5. I saw 10 somewhere. I don't think that the difference is that vast. Again, I will understand the TJ Watt and what he does defensively and being able to get to Josh Allen and pressure him to make those interceptions. I can understand the problems that him not being here will cause. But on an overall basis, I'm not scared of these Buffalo Bills. I'm just not. Again, they are the 2 seed, but they are the team that we match up the best against. So why? I can't remember. There was an NFL team that went through. It may have been an NFL. There was some team that went through a playoffs, and there was the element of why not us? I can't remember. It may have been a college team. There was someone that did why not us? I sort of feel the same with the Steelers. Like we may not make the Super Bowl, but on a terms of like wild card weekend, at least getting a win and maybe getting some momentum, why not us? I don't, as I said, I don't feel scared about the Buffalo Bills. They are a team that can be got. So I honestly, as much as I'm probably going to end up jinx this, I think we're gonna win this game. It might be a low scoring one. It might be 15-12. We might get a repeat of that game in Kansas City all those years ago, where Chris Boswell kicked all the field goals, although with 55-mile-an-hour winds, if he can get 3 field goals or 3 kicks, including the extra points, if he can get 3 of them, kudos to him. I saw somewhere he got one All Pro vote this year. Um, so someone has a lot of sense. But yeah, give him any award if he can make 3 kicks in that wind, then by all means go for it. But yeah, this is a team that I think we can beat, and I think we are going to beat. By a final score, again, my mind has changed on this 3 times before I recorded this video, but I'm probably going to go for a 14-10 victory for the Steelers. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. It's going to be a bit of a, not necessarily a slog, but it's not going to be the most entertaining game. In terms of an X's and O's standpoint, everyone loves snow games when you don't have to actually play in it or set the stands for it. On TV, everyone loves a snow game. And that's what it's going to be. And I think we can come out, I think we can win this. No? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments. Let me know by liking, subscribing, and following, or let me know on any of the other links on my social medias, which are down in the description below. Until then, until we speak after the game, which will hopefully be a Pittsburgh Steelers win, I'll see you then. And yeah, let's go Steelers.